Hi there. It's been a while. This is not going to be an edited video. It's not going to be a podcast episode. It's just a little, hey, how you doing? I'm looking forward to being able to record a podcast episode soon. So, it's been about 2 years since I recorded a podcast episode. A lot has happened in 2 years. um, I've moved. I've become single. It has been a journey, and this lovely pandemic thing has been super fun for everybody's mental health, I think, not just mine. Um, what can I say? That's life. We're all getting through it the best we can, and anyway. So, I had not knit in about 2 years. I did a couple of squares on my blanket last, not this past January, but the January before, January 2021. Um, Mandy of Mandy Pinecone Crafts had sent me an advent calendar. She'd sent me a bunch of minis for advent, and I wasn't feeling it in December that year. Sorry, my hair's starting to be a little bit crazy here. And so I didn't knit them in for Advent. I knit them in January, and that was the last knitting I did. So that was a year ago, over a year ago. I'm no longer working at the grocery store. I still have my government job during the day, but in the evenings and weekends, I now work for Porter Airlines as a a call center customer service agent. So there's that. I had not watched podcasts. I had not done anything. I wasn't even like, that group of podcast ladies that I used to chat with and have video chats with on a regular basis. We stopped doing that. We're starting to do it again, but for the longest time, like, we were barely talking to each other. Group people within the group were talking to each other here and there, but it was I like the group chats stopped, and it was just everybody was worn out and having difficulty dealing with the new reality and so on and so forth. I'm just going to see where I'm at here. Um, it was the sort of thing where, and I mean, I know I'm not telling you anything new. We've all been dealing with the same thing, so it's just been hard for everybody. Um, but yeah, my mental health took a nosedive. I quit taking my courses at school. I basically had a bit of a breakdown. Um, I have stopped leaving my house. I don't socialize with people. I don't see anybody. Um, the last 4 or 5 months, I've stopped even going over to my parents' house on a regular basis. There were a few health crises that happened over the last year that meant that I was going over to my parents' house 2 and 3 times a week. And it was a lot. It was between that and the end of my relationship and things not going well at the grocery store at all. Basically, I quit and moved to a different store and then ended up leaving the new store as well. I went from a privately owned store to a corporate store. It was not a good change. Things were really bad at the privately owned store, um, but they were very poorly managed at the corporate store. So, for my own sanity, I started looking for a new job. I was lucky enough to have a chance on the Porter thing. I'd been trying to get into Porter for years. And so I looked out, and there we were. So in the last, I'd say month and a half, well, since late January, about 2 months, I've been knitting almost constantly. I have a lot of finished objects to show you guys during a podcast episode, which will be soon. I have a lot of works in progress that I have picked up and that I'm trying to finish. I've basically been picking up all my old works in progress and finishing them as I go. I'm not letting myself start anything big until that's done, but I'm knitting a few little things here and there. And so, yeah, progress is being made. And part of the reason I wanted to record this little video is because I realized that for the longest time, especially throughout the whole move and all the stuff that was going on, the upheaval, I was using knitting. I was trying to use knitting as motivation. But what I was actually doing was punishing myself. So I was looking at my knitting as something that I wasn't allowed to touch until I accomplished things. I wasn't allowed to knit until I got all my packing done at the old place. I wasn't allowed to knit until I got all my unpacking done at this place. I wasn't allowed to knit until my kitchen was spotless. I wasn't allowed to knit until, until. And it got to the point where I went over a year with no knitting. And so when I finally sat down, because I live in Canada, it gets cold here. I wanted a pair of mitts. I wanted a pair of mitts for the car. So I allowed myself to go into my stash and find myself a pair of some yarn to knit myself a pair of mitts. And I knit myself a pair of mitts. And then I decided I wanted to knit something else. And then I decided I wanted to knit something else. And then I wanted to decided I wanted to knit something else. And the weirdest thing happened. I became more productive, like outside of the knitting. I started cleaning my house. I started emptying boxes. I started, doing all the stuff that I wasn't letting myself do. All the stuff that I would stare at all the time and beat myself up for not doing. Suddenly, when I permitted myself to knit, everything kind of came back. And I started feeling more like myself. And I started... I was punishing myself. And I stopped doing that. And I feel better about that. So anyway, yeah, there's been a lot of changes. There's been a lot of upheaval. There's been a lot of stress. There's been a lot of ugly. There's been a lot of introspection. And there's been a lot of renewed self-awareness and the beginnings of self-care and beginnings of a few other things too. So we'll see how things go. There will be a podcast episode in the very near future. But for now, I just wanted to stop in and say, hey, I've been catching up on podcast episodes from literally the last 2 years. So I've been going through all the podcasts that I followed and watching their last 2 years of episodes. Been doing that for the last 2 months. So it'll be soon. I've got some finished objects. I've got some works in progress. I've even got some Yarny mail that I got today. I got it yesterday, but I picked it up today. So I've got a lot to show you, but I can't do it right now because it's dark and my bedroom is very poorly. I have one lamp right here. There's no other light in my room and it's extremely dark in here. And, I don't want to do this on my phone. I want to do it with my camera. So I have a little bit more prep to do. I have show notes written up and everything. And so I promise you it will be within the next week. But for now, I just wanted to say hi. I've missed everybody. I've missed the community that was sort of available through the podcast. I've missed chatting with people. I've missed knitting with people. And I'm not punishing myself anymore. So, hi. I'm back. I'll see you soon.